Welcome to Mia the Passion Muse Show. I'm Mia Saenz Whitmore, your host, and with me this week is Victoria Wynn from the Lies I Tell Myself project. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you, Mia.
I love this project, as I keep saying whenever I get the wonderful opportunity to interview Victoria. I love this project because it really makes us dig deep into what is true and what isn't true. And we don't do that. We're not taught that as a society to do that. And so all these techniques are self-taught, self-learned, and it's beautiful. And last week we described how she came about it. And so watch last week's segment. It's awesome. This week we're talking about body image. And next week we're going to talk about self-love. And they do go hand in hand to a major degree in worth and all that. But the body is what we are living in right now. And we want to, what Victoria, would you like to share with us how you'd also like us to talk about children and then adults as well?
With body image, it just starts so young. So I was suggesting to Mia that we talk about where it even stems from. And approximately the age that a kid starts doing the worst thing, which is comparing themselves to somebody else. So I'd love to give our viewers and listeners some tips and tools in raising your kids or your nieces, your nephews, and grandkids to start out at a young age with that confidence. So I'd love to hit on that, how to do that.
Right. Well, let's start with first girls and then boys. Girls began approximately 10 to 12, and probably part of that is going through puberty, besides what the media has forced down all of our throats.
Yeah, it hits us all. It seems within the range for some kids as young as, or some girls we're talking about right now, as young as 10, it seems. Or I guess I've seen some little girls who kind of look at mom, look at themselves, look at mom, and without some healthy parenting skills to explain, our bodies change throughout life, and it's all good. Sometimes it even starts younger. For me, my challenges definitely started around that 10, 11 area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. And I never really felt like I had body image issues ever until I allowed myself to gain weight in order to keep men away from me. And then it took many years before I decided to dig within myself to save myself to which I didn't know I could do, but to reduce and to become the woman I am today. So it's really, and that's part of the, I guess, the adult body image issues that we'll get into as well. Well, I guess I had them because I had a Barbie doll figure at a young age, starting at age 9, and so by 12 I literally had my adult figure, my breasts, my waist, my hips, until I decided to change that. But the point is that that's way too young for children to deal with.
Yeah.
Whether it's having a nice body and people are pestering them and they can't handle it, or whether they think mentally that they are not suitable for that age group.
Yeah, absolutely. Comparing.
Right. I have a lot of girlfriends who have daughters, and I have nieces, but I don't have any girls myself. So will you start us off with the girls, because you have girls and it's very important.
Yeah, I have 3 girls. They're my twins are about to turn 13 next week, and then I have a daughter that's 18. And I would say in some way, shape, or form, all of them have struggled in some way. Some a little more than others. And, the best I can do that I feel as a mom is just to remind them that their personality is really what glows, and not so much the color of makeup they're trying out or the cute outfit that's so hip. And so I really focus on personality and reminding them that they're so beautiful when they smile and they laugh. So not when they want to argue and fight with each other, That's right. So beautiful. And so I try and refocus away from the looks and into the inner beauty. And I've had to do so much work on that myself. So I think number one thing for moms and dads is do your own work in that area.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we can accidentally project it onto our kids and not meaning to. It's an accident. And I get that. And my mom, there were lots of accidents, where her comments snuck out, and to a little girl, it just, they stuck with me, and definitely had to make sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
to be the role model, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the dads that are listening, oh my goodness, you could probably make more impact than anybody else, because there's nothing that a little girl wants more than her dad to say, you are just beautiful as you are, early in the morning, late at night, at middle of the day. How peaceful does that feel to us girls?
Did you ever experience that where you were so moved by your father saying anything like that to you? I had one experience that, and I was very lucky because my dad passed away about a year and a half later. But there was an experience where I'd come home from summer camp, and I had dropped from like the 5th grade to the 6th grade. I had dropped just like the 10 pounds of baby fat that I had, but it really made my body, beautiful in my face, and I was happy and feeling in control. And my dad actually pulled me aside and said, "I'm so proud of you. You're so beautiful." It's wonderful. And fortunately, we had a great relationship. I didn't wish I could say that about my mother, but it stuck with me. And I think that what you're saying is absolutely imperative, to have that connection between the father and the daughter.
Yeah, so even as I became a teenager, from a little girl all the way up to a teen, now mind you, as a teen, I could be pretty grumpy. Very just like, don't talk to me, I was kind of obnoxious to my parents. And so I would come down the stairs every morning. My dad would be reading the paper, and he had an amazing voice, right? So he would sing like the Miss America song.
Oh.
And my hair was like this, right? And I'm in pajamas, and I'm grumpy. And you'd say, "There she is, Miss America." And I'm like, I would not even smile. Not tired or cute or anything. But now that I'm older, I cherish that. Like, what an awesome dad.
That is really cool.
I look like junk, and my attitude was junky.
Yeah.
And,
that's sweet.
That's helped me a lot, because when Dad thinks that, again, it helps you through the rough times when I'm not thinking that myself, So I hear my dad in his operatic.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Here you come, Miss America. Yeah. I love that. That's so sweet. That really is sweet. Well, boys also have body issue images too, and I have two sons who went opposite on the scale. One was anorexic for a while, and the other one found comfort, I guess, plus his body type. He had put on weight, and then in his teens he took it off. And the other one still struggles somewhat. I mean, he looks great. He's slim, but he looks great, but still struggles with that. I think that one of the most important things, and you and I both have some ideas in which to share with everybody on building confidence in our children and how to help with some tips. But for my son, it was sad because he was in the hospital sick, and they didn't have any room in the children's, so they put him in with the teens, who actually had anorexia, which is very, very, very strange to do to a 10-year-old who's sick anyways. To put them, but I guess at UCLA they had to fit him in somewhere, and so he learned things. He never had the problem before that. So we really need to be aware of what we're allowing our children to see, feel, hear, touch, because I could have moved him to another hospital. I could have, but I did not realize the impact it would have. Yeah. And so he struggled for years because that's what he saw for, a week and a half until they were able to put him on a different ward before he could come back home, well. So we just really need to be in tune with our sweet ones because we do love them so much. Yeah. I have some tips and you have some tips. So should we just go into them? We
Yeah.
started talking about confidence, and I wanted to bring up that I was looking at confidence in the aspect relating to children, and so the depth of what it really means with trust and with faith. So teaching our children to trust themselves and to have faith in themselves, that's what confidence is. It's because we really don't break down that word. When I was reading that, I was like, wow, that's even, more understanding for the sense of children than I actually realized.
Yeah, interesting.
So, yeah. So there are a lot of things. We are their mirrors, as we are everybody's mirror. And a good way to do that is to praise, but also encourage. We can praise and give wonderful accolades, which is really very, very important, I believe. But there's also another thought on that, where encouragement instead of just praise will get the child farther. And it does, because when a child can do things on their own, then they know that they have the strength, and that's where the confidence is built and all that. So that was a wonderful part. Extend the trust to help them realize their own abilities, that they are capable of so much more. And when we see these amazing things in them, to just show them, because every child is different. I mean, do you remember growing up, Victoria, where it's funny to look at it now, because I didn't really see people that way, except for on TV, but they'd have the nerds, and they'd have the bookworms, and the skinny kids, and the jocks, and the cool ones, and all these names that they put on people. To me, when I was growing up, we were all the same. We were just kids, But apparently that's not how society sees it. So do you have some thoughts how we can gear children towards being more accepting of others? Because it also it's also part of our peer group, too.
Yeah, and basically I would say listen to your kids really closely. I'll hear it in my kids' language. I think they almost know to censor around me, possibly, whether that's healthy or not.
They're dang smart, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I don't mean their language is in bad words, but I mean in the way that they talk about other kids. If they say, I guess I don't think I've ever heard them say, well, the fat girl, or I don't know that I've heard them say that, but it's stuff that is still, to me, insulting to the label. And I just suggest, how about we describe her as the girl that took the basketball from you when you were trying to play? How about instead of, an external feature, just say what you don't like about her. I get it. We don't like people, and people do mistreat us, I would say that's something that kind of bugs me. It bugs me because I just want my kid to be so perfect, and they're just not. It shouldn't bug me. The kid, and I did it too. I labeled other people, and but it does. It bugs me. I don't want them talking about other people like that. Describe their personality, and if it's a crappy personality, then suggest that rather than the skinny girl, the fat girl that doesn't know how to dress nice. I don't want to hear any of that. Let's talk more about really what attracts us to other people, which is their personality anyway. So really listen to the way your kids talk about the problems that they're having at school or other kids. Even if they say, yeah, that really pretty girl, she wants to come over this weekend, whoever, Cindy. I'll ask, so what is she like? And just to veer away from the reason they want to hang out is because she's pretty. And I'm sure there's more to it, but I want them to be conscious of it.
Yes.
It's because she's funny. It's because she compliments people. It's because she's nice. It really doesn't have anything to do with her look. So, that's a big one. That's one that I work on with myself to make sure that I'm in line with that, and then with my kids. Just listening. Just listen. When they're talking to each other, especially.
Yeah. As you were saying about commenting on kids, their looks and stuff. They have to learn that somewhere. It's just not inherent because they're clean slates when they're born.
Yeah.
And so they have to learn it somewhere. So also being aware of your kids' friends and their parents and how they communicate. Because if you're raising and working hard to raise your children, these beautiful souls, and yet they go hang out at Susie or Bobby or Billy's house for lunch every so often, and their mom is literally saying, the fat kid who came last week, oh my God, he blah, 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 or the skinny one who... I mean, first of all, that breaks my heart that somebody would even talk that way about a child. But yes, adults have to be retrained too. And that's what all this is, the lies I tell myself, is about retraining ourselves, being the master of who we are.
Yeah, and just to add before we get on to parents, I know we're running out of time a little bit, but just to add media, I don't have the kids having computers or TVs in their own room, so they're just in the main room, the TVs and the computers, and it just helps. It's kind of like when you have a contract with someone, a legal document. It keeps everybody honest. And ceases some of the temptation of being dishonest. And for a kid, I think when you have the stuff in the common areas of the home, it really helps them to, not watch things that are inappropriate, whether it's language, how people treat each other, or it's, sexual stuff that's not even for kids. But knowing what their media... what they're listening to, and that doesn't mean you can control it all, but you can certainly create a safe space within your home. That's your job, right? You're a parent, create a safe space. So
exactly.
Kids and confidence, and
wonderful.
Parents have a huge accountability, because you're right. Those kids are clean slate. So if we're mad at our kids, we need to look in the mirror.
I never told my children that I was. We never used the word hate. We never used the word, I can't remember some of the other words. There were words that I just was not allowed I would not allow in our house from the moment my first son was born. There was no hitting. I tapped him a couple times when he was a baby, for dangerous stuff, but there was no hitting, no smacking, it's not, that kind of stuff is not necessary. And granted, it's a parent's own choice of how they're going to do it. But the clean slate thing is what I was trying to say, was that, they're so beautiful. Yeah. And we have such the honor of raising them to full beauty. Granted, I was not prepared at all. I think I was, but none of us are, right? And so when we were prepping for this show today, I started thinking about the children. I was thinking, I wanted another one, and for a while there, my kids said, no, Mom. No, Mom, you shouldn't have another one. And now they're like, you'd be a good mom. So it's sweet.
That's the best compliment you can get, huh?
Yeah, I guess it is, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now about us adults, because we have issues too. We're just like we have an inner child, and if we weren't raised a certain way and we haven't worked on those issues, they're there.
They can pile really deep. So if you're digging a hole and it's just a little small hole when you're 10, 11, man, by the time you're 30, even 25, it's a pretty deep ditch of darkness.
Right. And next week's show is going to be about self-love that we mentioned, and a lot of that we can teach our children self-love too, to grow their inner child and reset their. You know how people talk about resetting their metabolism? Well, we're going to reset people's self-love worth. So
perspectives on themselves.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah. And so share with us some of the stuff, if you can recall, that's come across your desk from your clients and topics about body image with adults.
So this is pretty blanket and general statement, but I'm still going to share it. I see the most body image issues with women that are models. They're in front of the camera, and the people that we would think are just so beautiful. It's it boggles my mind. It's so interesting that some of the people that we think are just the prettiest people are struggling so much with their bodies that we're like, I would strut that any time of the day, anywhere.
Yeah.
And they really struggle deeply. One time I was in a training, and I was sobbing. I was sobbing that I wasn't living my life fully. I wasn't going to the beach. If I did, I wanted to go on a cold day when it didn't look weird that I was in like a sweatshirt and sweat. So, I wasn't living my life fully to play with my kids in the water and all those things. And, I was just crying, sharing all this vulnerable stuff. And this lady was, somewhat overweight. She just stood up and said, I don't know what you're talking about. And why do you even have a right to say these things when you look like that? And, I was not one to be messed with. So, oh, no, you didn't. Because it is not about our size. Women that are size 0, 2, 4, whatever, it's in here. That's the issue. It's not how big or small we are. It's what we've decided about it.
And it's in here. It settles down into our heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got clear. We're friends now.
Well, it's really important primarily for us to enjoy our life, to be able to run with our babies in the water at the beach, or our loved one, whatever it is. It really is important for us to be able to feel free and be free. And for me, I allowed myself and wanted myself to live so many years heavy to keep men away, because I just never felt protected from my husband, that it got to the point when I started realizing, yikes, I don't want this and I can't get this off, that I had to just know. I found comfort in knowing that, for me, that I was aligned to God, to the divine. And so that's where, for me, I found my comfort in. And I noticed that people started looking at me differently when I would set my day with that intention. That, what I've learned from my clients with the body image issue is, and it's really, really sad because I never truly experienced it to this depth, but I'd have people say people won't hold the door for me. They slam it on me. They're looking at me. If I go to the gym, they're saying, there's that fat girl again. And I would say to them, how do you know that? Do you hear that? Or is that in your head? And they said, well, of course they're saying that. And so you have to get beyond that, because no, they're not saying that. And if they are, you don't want them in your experience anyways, because they're pretty crass and rude, and who wants that around? So,
right.
And people are not focusing themselves on you or her or him or me. They're focusing themselves on themselves, because that's what's most important to each of us.
Right. In the gym, you're typically in pain and sweating, so there's not much effort to be made on, too many other people.
Right.
But I have to say that for me, in my perspective, I'm always inspired when I see someone running or walking, and they're just, they're not your athlete build. And that just tells me, why am I driving right now? Like, that person's running down the street,
Right.
Where's my fitness level at? So I personally think it's inspiring. Or to see a girl on the beach, and I'm like, oh man, I cannot wear that. What's up with that? What's with me? Because that person's actually quite inspiring. She's having a great time building sandcastles with her kids. Yeah. And here I am feeling all like I need to hide. For me, I think it's inspiring.
Yeah.
To see men and women that you could probably guess they've had some struggles in this area, and here they are like, woohoo, I'm living life. It's like, I just think it's cool.
Well, it also goes back to what we're mirroring for our children. When we can have fun and play with them and not say to them, oh my God, I can't go in the water because I don't want anybody to see me, they're going to pick that up. because they're listening. We're imprinting our children. So when we have confidence, we're going to imprint them with confidence, and they're going to feel great.
A dumb little story to go along with our deep talk, right? So I've been noticing some gray hairs in the last year or two. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, man, it'd be so nice. My kids could see them better than I can, I'm sure. Pluck a little hair for me here and there. And I thought, what would that teach them, though?
Ah, good for you.
It teach them that I'm not happy with my growth and where I'm going in my life and my body changing.
Perfect.
And so I zipped my lips on it. If I didn't like the gray hair, then I would just, and it's done. And here's the thing that's interesting. They have made comments since about how beautiful my hair is because I have these gold streaks and then I have brown hair. And they've noticed that there's these silver streaks too. So they're thinking I have all this awesome metallic stuff going on, like highlights of some sort. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, see that? Not as a negative at all. They just think it goes with the gold streaks and the copper streaks, and it's just part of the purple metals I've got or whatever in my color. And so I'm just like, wow, I'm really glad I zipped my lips. I was conscious in that, just in case. Because I would imagine, when they're hitting their 30s, 40s, or whenever that happens to them, they might relate back to that. Oh, my mom had me take out her gray hairs, so I better do. I'm like, oh, well, that's cute. It's a whole personal thing. But I don't want to teach it, by accident teach that it's a bad thing.
You know what's so funny is my mother, I remember growing up, and my mother was so judgmental of everybody. Like if a man was losing his hair, oh my God, that kind of stuff. Well, nowadays, or at least in the last 15 years, men usually shave their head when they're losing their hair. And that's become a really, hip thing to do. And some guys look really, really hot. It's so funny because when I was married and my husband took the boys in the bathroom one night late and I was in bed sound asleep and, and of course I had this in my mind that, men who shave their head, aren't going to look good. Well, he decided to shave his curly blonde hair because it was getting thinner. And I thought it was still perfect. But I woke up the next morning and I was just like, ah! It scared me. But after that, I remember after we were divorced and I started dating, and I did do a couple of dating sites. And, you have to pick who you want. And it was like nobody with, a shaved head. But that's who I actually fell in love with for a while. I had a boyfriend whose head was shaved. It was beautiful. I still see men who look a certain way with their head shaved, and it's like, ooh, you get a little bit of a tingle, because it's like, I don't know whether it's, reverse from my mother or what, but,
The truth Mia tells herself. The tingle.
Well, and, in gray hair, so what? I find more and more men my age having gray hair. And so what? If you don't have it and you're blessed not to, isn't that great? But the point is that we do listen to what's imprinted in us, and I was just sharing what my mother imprinted and how I reverse that.
Yeah, to the big degree.
You really go after those guys instead. So we're going to start our next segment for next week soon on self-love, which will incorporate some of these deeper ways of working through the body image issues, because it is what we've talked about, the confidence and the self-worth and the imprinting that we've gotten, but we can reverse it. Right, Victoria?
That's right. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Me too. So we'll see you all next week, and Victoria and I are signing off for this week. Have a nice week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.